Hello, this is Steven, and yes, we're back with yet another Batman 66 episode review, and today we'll be reviewing the episode The Olga Couple. The last time we'll be seeing Egghead and Olga, Queen of the Bessarabian Cossacks. So without any further ado, let's head straight into the review. We begin this episode with another day in Gotham City, until civilians see once again the Bessarabian Cossacks are back in town, and behind them is Egghead, still riding the donkey. As they head closer to the Gotham City Museum, we find out that Egghead and Olga have once again teamed up. Duh, you knew that coming into this review. Well, it turns out the two are once again teamed up and plan to steal the sword of Bulbul and the egg of Og, essentially a sword in a essentially golden egg, sort of a reference to King Arthur, and it said whoever pulls the sword out of the egg becomes the rightful ruler of Bessarabian Cossacks. With the help of Egghead, both Olga and Egghead get what they want. Egghead gets the giant egg, and Olga gets the sword. They then quickly head off. We then do the usual opening credits, and we go back to Wayne Manor, where Bruce is informed of the arrival of both Egghead and Olga. We then cut to Egghead and Olga at their hideout, planning their next crime. Whilst at the same time, we get more Bessarabian Cossack ways. Just as that's happening, Batman, Robin, Commissioner Gordon, Chief O'Hara are still trying to figure out who's behind this. And by this point, they are really sick of the Cossacks. As it turns out, the Bessarabians didn't want the Bessarabian Cossacks, and the reason Egghead's out is because he's out due to a legal technicality. They just don't know what they're up to. But there is one clue. With Egghead around, it has something to do with eggs. But the problem is, they don't know what Olga and the Cossacks will play. So they head off. We of course get another scene with Gordon telling Barbara about this and telling her to stay out of it and to essentially go home and be safe. But Barbara, being Barbara, decides she's gonna do things her own way. And as a result, she essentially transforms into Batgirl and essentially goes on a patrol all over Gotham. We then cut back to Batman and Robin at the Batcave, informing every single company remotely connected with eggs to be on alert. Now, realizing it has something to do with Olga and Egghead's essentially obsession for egg crimes, they try to think of something somehow connected. They then manage to come up with there's a place near Bessarabia, and they are very well known for their caviar. Now because of that, Gotham has received a gift from them, a whole bunch, 500 pounds of condensed caviar, and is worth 200 pounds an ounce. Now, the Gotham City does not know what to do with it, so they are storing it in the Gotham City National Bank. Realizing that, Batman and Robin quickly get in the Batmobile and head to the bank. Whilst there, Olga and her Cossacks have already arrived and take essentially the caviar, leaving the bank. With the bank manager and guard essentially furious, but things turn around when Egghead arrives. Turns out he was late to the heist, and wonders where the hell they've arrived, where they've gone. However, just as the bank guard is content to essentially shooting Egghead, Batgirl just so happens to arrive on her Batgirl cycle, and manages to convince Egghead to turn stool pigeon and lead them to Olga's hideout. They then leave and head for the hideout. Just as that happened, the dynamic duo then arrives at the bank, and the bank manager explains to him everything that's happened. They then head off to find Batgirl, knowing that with the Cossacks around, something liable bad is going to happen. Now, Batgirl and Egghead arrive at the hideout, which essentially is an ice house, and she makes Egghead lead her in. Egghead lured her in plans to trapping her. However, she manages to, at first, she thinks she's got the upper hand, out-tricking Egghead. However, what does end up happening is she ends up getting captured by Olga and the Cossacks, and is forced into essentially a dance against her will. Just as that happened, Batman and Robin happen to quickly arrive, and they manage to track Batgirl to this place, courtesy of her Batgirl cycle. Apparently, they by this point have a special gadget that can track it, courtesy of a spark plug. Apparently, it's some kind of radioactive. Go figure. They've managed to find their way in and disrupt the dance proceedings that are going on, and Olga orders her men to attack. Batgirl just stands aside and watches the fight happen. Now, this is something I need to point out. Egghead acting cowardly here, which is something a little bit out of the ordinary. Olga essentially forcing Egghead to, participate, and essentially they use a rotten trick by grabbing Batgirl and throwing her into the caviar, essentially planning to freeze her to death. Olga, Egghead, and the rest of the Cossacks quickly make their escape. Batman and Robin, seeing essentially Batgirl drowning in the caviar, realize it's better to prevent her from drowning rather than going after Egghead and his men, and Olga too. They manage to save Batgirl just before she drowned, and manage to recover the caviar. We end the episode finding out that Chief O'Hara had surrounded the building and captured Egghead and Olga before they made their escape. I admit, that's a lazy way. Them getting captured off screen, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right with me. But, nevertheless, Egghead and Olga have been apprehended along with their men and have been sent to the Gotham State Penitentiary. Just as that happens, Barbara walks in and tells them that she saw a strange car driving by. And by the describing of the car, it is Catwoman's car. And she has a passenger in that car, the Joker. Batman and Robin realize with those two out that the new, essentially, Gotham will be in more peril with those two teaming up. And that's where we end our episode. Nothing really much happens in the main cast. I like how as soon as Batgirl found out that Egghead and Olga were in town, she immediately got on board and, and tried to do her own investigation. Alfred doesn't really play that much of a role in the story, nor with Chief O'Hara and Gordon. Batman and Robin are kind of, again, they figure out the plan and all that, but it feels like it's almost too repeatish by now. Anyway, let's talk about the villains this time around. For me, Egghead still played pretty well by Vincent Price. Now, I will admit, I do love the bit while he tries to outthink Batgirl and lure her into a trap, only he gets outthought. I like that a little bit. He's angry of getting outthought. That seems like Egghead's MO. Also, it's clear that his motivations are egg-related capers that brings money, but money enough for a dowry to marry Olga. I like how he has some character development. However, and Vincent Price is still comedic as ever, but he's also lost a little bit of his villainous this time around. Also, he acts a little bit of a coward. And that is really, and I think this is the episode where people think in season 3 he became more of a coward figure character, but I don't think that. I feel that really he's pretending to be a coward, for his own ends. He's trying to outthink everyone, and that's pretty interesting for Egghead's character. It's supposed to be Egghead. This is and considering this is the last episode he'll be appearing in, it is kind of sad knowing it is his last appearance, but also quite underwhelming, as this is, I will admit, straight out, this episode feels almost lazy. Speaking of, and of course this time around he is still teamed up with Anne Baxter as Olga, Queen of the Bessarabian Cossacks. Anne Baxter is great here, and she is fantastic in the role, and with the 3 episodes, including this one, this as the 3rd episode that we've got of her character, it's fun to see her nonetheless. I'm really glad that she, of course, when Egghead came back, they brought her back. The two just work so well with each other. And of course, for next week, we have, of course, Catwoman teaming up with the Joker. First off, an interesting combination, yet another villain team up. What I like about it is, essentially, you got a more villainous version of Catwoman, I would say bloodthirsty version, teaming up with with the Joker. And I can't wait to see how that pairing turns out in the next episode. The Odd Couple is, I think, one of the many lazy episodes that we got from Season 3. So far, I can enjoy with what we got for Season 3 so far, but this one is really where the laziness really came in. It's just a lazy written episode. It's okay, and it should have historical value, because this is technically the last time we will see Vincent Price's Egghead and Baxter's Olga, but it feels really lazy, and everyone is not really contriving that much of the story, and even bringing much excitement into this episode. I can just describe this episode as pure lazy. There we have it. That was the Olga Couple. Sadly, this is the last time we'll see Egghead and Olga. They will be missed. And that's all I can really say. Join us next time when the dynamic trio will be going up against the Joker and Catwoman in a two-parter. So I can't wait for that episode. Until then, tune into the next Steven Hour, the next Steven Channel, the next Steven Time. Ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.